I had the most beautiful growing up with the most beautiful friends. I grew up with beautiful friends. It was altogether different then. We had no money and there was nothing you were going to buy anyway. The fun was what we did. We used to sneak in the playground. The playground would be closed at a certain time and you weren't allowed in after that. Then, when I was growing up, they sold wooden shoes. Did you ever hear about buying wooden shoes? We bought them. Wooden shoes. And Gloria and I had them on. And they're just like a wooden shoe that when you walked, they didn't bend. They'd go like this. So we girls snuck in the playground. It was late yet, light. All of a sudden we look, and who do we see? These women with their black dresses, because our parents, when they got dressed, they wore those black silk dresses. I saw my mother. Gloria saw her mother. Anita, they were going to the Sons of Italy for a meeting, Sons of Italy meeting. I said, oh my God, here comes our parents. They didn't know we snuck in, understand? Then we tried to climb the fence, so I can remember that. We couldn't climb the fence because the wooden shoes wouldn't go up there. What? Hey, that's the truth. I'd never lie. That's what we do. Oh, here come our parents. Those are the things we got into, but not bad things. We never did anything real bad. We never did, but we would get together and do things like this. Go there. Hey, guess what? We used to have an Arcadia theater. It was called the Ranch House. In this theater, on this one side, there was a door that you'd open like this. And my girlfriend Anita's house was next door, and there was a walk in between there. Now, we had money. The show was only like 10 cents, but we loved doing things. So there was Gloria and I, Norma. We would sneak in the show. And the guy, the manager, was Fernand Albini. He was our friend, an elderly man, Now, instead of go buying it, we'd push that, honest to God, I'm not lying, we'd push the door and would sneak in, and it would be crowded, because that was the only show up here then, And we'd go sit in the middle there, and we'd sit across like this, crowded. All of a sudden, Ferdinand, the manager, would, honest to God, we talked about it one day. He'd walk down, everybody would look. He'd look over like this, and he'd go. We'd say, us? He'd say, yes. And he'd make us leave, because he knew we snuck in. So we'd walk out, everybody would look at us, So next thing you know, after we got up, we'd open the door again. And we did it, I think, just to have Ferdy, And we'd go in there and we'd sit and you'd see us out. Now, we could pay, but it was fun. You know what I mean? You didn't have phones then. Who had a phone? Nobody had a phone. Well, we finally got a phone. And our house was big. We had big rooms downstairs, and the phone was in the hall downstairs. And upstairs were the big bedrooms. Well, my gang, we were called the Nuts Gang. When we went out, we all went out, we all went out together, and we'd all try to wear something that was the same, togetherness, My brother, my mother and dad would leave, I'd leave, everybody would leave the house. My brother would be upstairs in the bathroom, taking a bath, and the phone would ring. Well, you had to run downstairs to answer the phone. My brother Sam, I loved my brother Sam, but he was really something. He went like this. He used to say, I shouldn't say it. He used to cuss, and he'd say, every goddamn time I'm taking a bath, the goddamn phone rings. He said, I run down the cellar, and this is what I hear. Did Adelaide leave? Yes. What did she wear? They wanted to know what I wear. My brother would say, Christ, I don't know what the hell she wore. So he'd say to him, I'm taking the phone out of the house. He'd call to have the phone taken out. My mother, Adela, that's Adelaide. Via, don't have the phone taken out, don't have. I'd call and have the phone put in again. The next time, again, my brother would say, I run the goddamn down the stairs, this is what I hear. Did Adelaide leave? What the hell did she, how the hell do I know? And my mother wanted the phone back in. Then finally we started getting more phones. And when we got a phone in those days, you had a party line. My number was 617J. So the next one was 617R or something like that. So when I moved here, I was on a party line. You couldn't get a private line in those days. And we had a little Italian woman up here. She had a little grocery store attached to her house. She was lovely. Her name was Rosina. She was on my line. And her husband was blind. So they didn't get to go out too much, She'd talk on the phone. So in the meantime, I'd go to call my girlfriend, Gloria, and I'd say, Gloria, all of a sudden I'd hear, Get off of the line, please. That was Rosine. I'd say, okay, and I'd hang up so she could talk. And she'd talk and talk. God love her, you know what I mean? Then I'd go to use her phone again, and she'd say, get off of the line, please. That was Rosine. My mother did not speak English. She spoke nothing but Italian. My mother was not like me. My mother was shy. My mother was a lady. But my mother was beautiful and wonderful, but she was shy. And I'll never forget one time, we had a new grocery store. A fellow from Vandergrift put the grocery store up on Longfellow Street. And I said to Mama, come on, Mom, you're going to go down and pretend you're buying. No, 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 no. And I said, Mom, Frank's Italian. He'll be glad. I'll never forget my beautiful, shy mother. I took her down. She was so shy. So all of a sudden, she swung the door open, and he went, Rosaccia, because my mother's name was Rose. And people used to call it Rosacedda. Rosacedda. Did you get that? Rosacedda. And he went, Rosaccia, you're down here. And she was giggling. You know, my mother was shy, just like me. And she went, I want a bottle of milk. She said it real cute. You know, it was a known fact that my mother went to the grocery store for the first time because she was shy. Beautiful, beautiful. You know, I took after my mother is what I did, you know. So then I did have my dad. My dad spoke English. My dad wrote English. My dad was a nice, handsome man, too. He was. One Easter, I was on a porch with my friends, and I saw this man coming down Longfellow Street with a gray suit. Back in those days, everybody got dressed up for Easter. New hats, new shoes. Today, they don't do that, but they did then. And I'm with my girlfriends, and I went, oh, my God. I said, hey, this is the truth. And I said, look at that handsome man coming down Longfellow Street. They went, Adelaide, that's your dad. You know, I remember that as though it was yesterday. My dad was nice looking. He was tall, my mother was short. My dad was tall. And when my dad dressed, I'll never forget, I didn't recognize my dad, how nice he looked coming down the street. Imagine that. Isn't that nice to be proud of your dad? Then I had two nice brothers. They were like my dad, nice, handsome boys. And I had a wonderful sister. She was the oldest one in the house. And I had a beautiful family, beautiful. You should see Christmas time, how nice it was. We hung our stockings. But today, they get toys, they get everything. We didn't in those days. We'd hang our stocking, and when I got up the next morning, on the end of right at the toe of the stocking would be a quarter. I was so excited I got a quarter. Then there'd be an orange, a tangerine. There'd be the Italian candy. You know the Italian candy that's in the little box? That would be it. It would be all excited because we got fruit and we got a quarter. Wasn't that nice? Today they has to be filled with greenbacks, you know. So then I went to high school, graduated from high school in 1944, and I had girlfriends. In 1941, my girlfriend Gloria, she was Sicilian. Her dad had a grocery store, and in the back of the store was her little house. So December 7th, Gloria was born December 7th. So it was 1941. There was Gloria, my other girlfriend Norma, and me. We were back there, and we had the radio on, and we're singing Happy Birthday to Gloria, Happy Birthday, and we're dancing, just the three of us. All of a sudden, there was a break on the television that Japan bombed Pearl Harbor. That's when the war started. I was 15 years old. We were 15 years old then, and we heard about the war being started. We all got scared. We thought, oh my God, we're at war. And in those days, you were, how do they call it? Your number came up. They used to have numbers. If your number came up, you had to go to the Army, you know, or to the Navy. You had to go to the service. And what we did back in those days, the men who were called, they would meet downtown. We had a railroad track, and the train would be there, and the men would all gather there in bunches who were called, and everybody from Vandergrift would walk down to say goodbye to the men. And we did that every time they left. They'd leave 5 o'clock in the morning. And we used to have a man in town. His name was Alfred Sack. He had a car with a speaker on top. And when that would happen, he would ride around and play, "Let's Remember Pearl Harbor." Would hear that. And everybody would fall. All the people would fall, walking down to the railroad station, and would see all our boys off. 5 o'clock in the morning, everybody went down to this railroad station to see all the boys off. We did that all the time, all the time. So when the war was over, you should have seen how wonderful. Out in the street, everybody ran and everybody was kissing each other and hugging each other. You didn't even know the person, but you hugged because the war was over. So then what they did, we had a big parade, in Vanderbilt. Now remember, by that time, we girls were 15? By that time, we were like 18, something like that, 16, 17, 18. We had grown up. And all the fellows that we knew remembered as the 15-year-old kid. We had a friend who had a flower shop. So what he did, he had a station wagon. He filled it up with flowers. He had me, he had Rose, he had Rita, he had 4 of us girls dressed in peasant. I still have the blouse, the peasant blouse and the peasant skirt, and we had baskets. And he put live flowers in, and we walked on the side, 3 of us, no, we were 4, 2 on this side and 2 on that side, and we'd throw flowers to the people. We walked the whole way in the parade down the field. So when we got down the field, these handsome soldiers, I can see that whole bunch, and the priest was there, and us girls are standing there, So I remember one fella saying to me, "Hey, Adelaide," he said, "that one fella I had his eye on you over there." And he said, "That's Adelaide." See, we had grown up. We were more mature. We were more grown up. And the guys, we were younger at 15, and the guys were looking at us young girls. It was girls that they knew, but we had grown up. And they were going, "Look at those girls, look at those girls." And it was us. Well, then after the war was over, we girls who got married, one got married and the other one got married. We all got married in Vanderbilt. We all settled in Vanderbilt, had our children. Our parents died, and we became the old ones. That's why today I'm so young, because no, I'm not young. That's why I'm 88 today. My mother wasn't that kind to allow me to go out on a date. You understand me? A lot of times when we girls had to go out on a date, we had to sneak out. But nothing was wrong. I mean, it wasn't like it is today. I'll never forget one time a friend of mine had borrowed his brother's car, and he had a date, and he asked me, and I asked my husband, who was my boyfriend at the time. We went to the Indiana Vets. So we used to sneak out, we'd go dancing out the Indiana Vets, and when we came home, it was maybe like 12 or something like that, And at that time, I used to tell my mother I went visiting, So our house was on Longfellow Street, and you had curtains in those days. And we pulled up real quiet in front of my house for me to get out. And we looked up, and the front window there, the curtain was pushed over, and there was a woman with her nightgown like this at the window. My mother was waiting for me. That's the way it was in those days. It wasn't I could say, "I have a date tonight, I'm going." They didn't. Anita's mother was the same way. All of our mothers were like that. You know what I mean? But they weren't mean or bad, but it just wasn't done. How can I say it to make you understand? It wasn't done that way. You know what I mean? So if I had a date, the guy never came to the house. We just snuck out. We went to school together. So naturally, and then they were local people. Everybody in Vanderbilt knew everybody. You know what I mean? And he went to school with me. They used to call him Lundy, Lundy, Lundy. He used to go. I'd meet him up at the drugstore. In the last booth, he'd sit back there. And then when I would come home, I'd go back there and sit. Him and I would sit. And a lot of people that would come in that knew us would come back there and sit with us. I wasn't going to go to his house. He wasn't going to come to my house. So he'd go to the drugstore, and that's where I went. I'd go sit up there at the drugstore with him. If anybody told my mothers, they could say, She said, well, they were talking in the booth there, you know what I mean? But nobody told my mother, as far as that goes. And my mother never came up because she didn't go anywhere, you know. But that's what it did. And all my friends would come, would talk there. But that's where we really, I don't remember ever going anywhere on a date. We just sat in the booth. He was easy to get along with. Maybe I was harder, but not him. He was easy to get along with. He really was. He got along with everybody. He had lots of friends. Lundy loved to smoke. He wasn't allowed to smoke. And I say, Lundy, please don't smoke. So he'd sneak away and smoke. And then I'd catch him, you know. And then they'd be all, you know. Down at the Ash Shoe Store on Grand Avenue in Vanderbilt. He was a Jewish fella. He came in from Indiana. He rented a house in Vanderbilt. And next door was my girlfriend. So he said to her one day, he said, would you, she was in school with me. He said, it was Easter. Would you like to come on Saturdays and help us? We're very busy. And she said, yes. And she said, can I bring my girlfriend Adelaide? He said, yes. Well, I went down there and I liked it and they liked having me. And when I graduated, I stayed there. And I stayed there all the years. And my girlfriend, God love her, she went to college and became a pharmacist. But we weren't dead poor that we couldn't eat, don't misunderstand me. But my mother and dad didn't have the money, you know what I mean? So I stayed in the shoe store there. But it was nice. That's how I got to meet a lot of people. I had this fellow that was a bookie. And I used to play numbers, you know. You called numbers in then. You didn't have lottery and all that. So he said to me one time, do you want to be a bookie? I said, sure. So I was a bookie. I took everything up here, you know. Everybody would call me in. And then he would come on Sunday, and I'd give him the money, and I'd get my commission. And I told you, that's how I bought my first television, you know, my husband and I. But then we got the call. He told us to burn it, because he got caught. Burn everything. So we did. But then after that was it. But I still would go to a bookie that we had a few streets down. He was in a wheelchair. That was almost his only income, you know what I mean? So you called him up. Nice to call him up. And in those days, you played old stock and new stock. It would come in the paper. So you'd give him your number, and then you'd look at the stock to see whether or not you won. But back in those days, you could pay 10 cents, 15 cents, 10 cents. Today, you don't do that. It was really exciting. I got to talk to a lot of people because they knew I was a bookie, you know. And I enjoyed it. I really did. I enjoyed it. It was fun. And my brother would say, if you knew how to read the Bible like you know how to do the numbers, he'd say to me, you know, if you knew the Bible like you know the number book, because I know the number book, you know what I mean? So he'd say to me, if you knew the Bible like you know the number book. But he was right, you know. Being happy with what you got. I mean, I'd love to have had a bigger house. I'd love to have had money, but we didn't get it. But we're fine. I love my little house. Our life was fine. I had this little house, if it could talk, you would wonder it's wonder my walls didn't burst. I'm so grateful for life. I'm so grateful to be alive. I'm so grateful that I have such beautiful friends. I'm grateful for that. Some people don't have friends. I do. I have a lot of nice friends. I'm so grateful for that. I'm so grateful for the way I was raised when I was a kid. I'm glad my mother was like she was with me. I think it made a better person out of you. A few years ago, I had cancer. That's a son of a gun to go through. That I still have to be checked, understand, but I finally got rid of it, I hope. And is it nice to know, to get cancer, you get so sick. You don't realize until you're so sick from chemo and all that. Isn't it nice today that I can get up and walk? I was so sick then, you know. Isn't it nice? Health. Health is number one, honey. My mother used to say in Italian, Adelaide, quando te la salute, when you have your health, you have everything. I love my daughter. I love my granddaughter. I love my cousins. I mean it. I love being with all my friends. I love my cousins. I love being together. I love just having fun. How can I say it that I make you understand what I love? I don't have to have that. I can't stand around people that act like I can't. I can't. And I love people. I do. I love people. I really do. I always was with people. I love a lot of people. And I love just everyday life. This is life. I can't change it. And I love it.